Rowan Meredith had always chased ghosts. Not the kind you see in sheeted costumes on Halloween, but the quiet ones that linger in photographs. The ones that speak through water-damaged journals, whisper in oral histories, and etch themselves into stone. She was 31, with a worn green parka and mud-stained hiking boots. A woman whose backpack carried more camera gear and EMF meters than clothes. Her auburn hair, tied in a bun, was peppered with stray curls, soaked by the drizzle. She was on her third day in the borderlands, and the further she drove from Edinburgh, the more the modern world seemed to unravel around her. The GPS cut out 3 miles ago. Her phone displayed nothing but a spinning wheel. Rain misted against the windshield. A narrow lane, more goat path than road, cut through heather, covered moorland, winding between gnarled oaks and crumbling dry stone walls. The inn was supposed to be up here. Braeden Hollow, she'd read in a footnote of a forgotten local travel guide printed in 1968. A way station for smugglers, fugitives, and, according to some, those fleeing justice of a different kind. The trees thickened. At a curve in the road, the mist parted like a curtain. There it stood. Braeden Hollow Inn looked like it had clawed its way out of the bog. Tall, blackened timbers, framed stone walls streaked with moss and soot. The windows were small and crooked, many shuttered. One still glowed faintly yellow through the murk. Rowan turned off the ignition and listened to the car settle. The wind moaned across the moor, carrying the scent of burning peat. A cast iron sign swung above the door. Braeden Hollow in 1692. She muttered to herself, "Looks like something out of a folk horror movie." The door opened before she could knock. He was tall, lean, with skin the color of curdled cream and eyes pale enough to be almost translucent. He wore a dark waistcoat over a high-collared shirt, and though his features seemed youthful, there was something in his posture, an oldness. "Miss Meredith," he said, voice dry as wind through dead grass. "We've been expecting you." She blinked. "You have Wi-Fi here?" "No." "Then how?" He stepped aside. The interior swallowed her like a forest. She followed him down a corridor lined with portraits, faces long forgotten, all bearing the same weary expression. Everything smelled of ash and damp. A fireplace at the far end crackled with faint warmth, casting jittering shadows across the hall. "Your room is prepared." "Number 4. Mr. Talbot stopped outside a heavy door with brass fittings. "The inn has only one rule. Do not leave your room after midnight." Rowan raised a brow. "Why?" His eyes didn't blink. "Because the inn remembers." Room 4 was surprisingly cozy, if one ignored the faded wallpaper curling in the corners, and the air that tasted slightly metallic. A fire already burned low in the hearth, casting orange light on the polished wooden floor. A thick woolen blanket was folded neatly at the foot of the bed. No television, no radio, only silence. After setting down her bags, Rowan took inventory. There was a desk beneath the small window. On it sat an old, leather-bound ledger, its edges curled like dried leaves. Curious, she flipped it open. The pages were brittle, yellowing. Names filled the first half, signatures from the 1800s, mostly. Some in elegant calligraphy, others scratched like afterthoughts. She flipped toward the middle. 1971. Kenneth Vale. No checkout date. The next entry was hers, written in neat ink, though she hadn't signed anything. She swallowed. There was a sound behind her, a subtle, dry shift, like cloth brushing wood. She turned. No one was there. But the mirror above the fireplace now showed two figures. One was her. The other stood just behind her, tall, pale, unmoving. She spun around. Empty room. When she looked back, the second figure was gone. That night, Rowan tried to sleep. The fire had died to embers. She lay in bed, the blanket pulled to her chin, listening. A soft tap. Then another, like someone walking barefoot down the hall. Then the whispering began. Faint, disjointed. A child's voice saying her name. An older woman weeping. A low, guttural voice humming a song she couldn't place. She rose and opened the door. The hallway was dark. The portrait seemed closer. The air was thick, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. She stepped back inside, heart racing, and shut the door. On the back was a message, freshly scrawled in charcoal. Stay inside after midnight. Rowan didn't sleep. The whispers had faded into silence, but the stillness that followed was worse, oppressive, unnatural, like being watched by the house itself. At 3:17 a.m., she sat at the edge of the bed, staring at the fireless hearth. Her camera bag was still at her feet. She pulled out her recorder, switched it on, and spoke. Audio log, Braeden Hollow. Strange phenomena recorded. Auditory hallucinations. Possible EVP. Mirror anomaly. Unexplained message written in charcoal. Also, unexplained ledger entry in my name. Location is disorienting. Maybe affecting time perception. She paused. Her voice didn't sound like her own. She stood and crossed to the window. Outside, the moorland was gone. There was only mist, dense and unmoving, like she was staring into wool. Then came the knock. 3 slow, deliberate knocks at the door. She froze. Another knock. Closer. Not from the door, from the wardrobe. She grabbed her camera, aimed it at the door, and flicked on the infrared. Through the lens, she saw it, a figure standing motionless just outside room 4. Head bowed, arms slack. She yanked the door open. No one was there. Except the hallway was different. Longer. More doors, too many, stretching beyond what the layout should allow. She stepped into the corridor. Instantly, the door behind her shut. When she turned, room 4 was gone. The hallway extended endlessly in both directions, lit by cold sconces that hadn't been there before. The portraits now showed her face, slightly altered, older, eyes hollow. A voice whispered directly in her ear, "Now you walk the hollow." Rowan walked. The corridor twisted behind her, always behind. The sconces blinked at irregular intervals, throwing her shadow in jagged shapes that never seemed to match her movement. She tried retracing her steps. The path only shifted again, looping back into itself like a snake devouring its tail. She passed the same painting 3 times. Her own distorted likeness stared back from the canvas, each iteration older and more withdrawn. Then, from ahead, a soft thudding sound, like someone pacing in heavy slippers. She slowed. A door stood slightly ajar, light spilling out like liquid amber. Not firelight. Something else. Artificial, weak. Rowan pushed it open. Inside was a man. He looked about 40, disheveled, dressed in what might have once been 1970s hiking gear. He sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by open books and broken clocks. His skin was pallid, eyes sunken, but sharp. Awake, He looked up. Took you long enough. She hesitated. Who are you? Kenneth Vale. Room 7. Checked in 54 years ago. She lowered her camera slowly. You're the name in the ledger. You never checked out. Nobody does. Not really. He gestured to the mirror leaning against the far wall. Its surface was fractured, spiderwebbed with cracks that shimmered slightly as though the glass breathed. That's where they keep us. The ones who wandered. The ones who forgot who they were. Rowan approached it. Her reflection was strange, lagging half a second behind her movements. And something else flickered in the shards. Faces, too many to count. Kenneth continued, this place, Braeden Hollow, it's not just a building. It's a border. A liminal space. Between now and then, between here and somewhere worse. She turned. Then why are you still here? Why not leave? He gave a sad smile. Because if you leave without remembering who you were, it'll just take you back in. Over and over. Every mirror becomes a door. Every hallway becomes a noose. Rowan's mouth was dry. Then what do I do? Kenneth stared at her, eyes dimming. You find the heart of the hollow. The source, before it forgets you, too. Outside the door, the corridor groaned. A shadow fell across the threshold. Heavy. Tall. Watching. Rowan looked back. Kenneth was gone. Only the mirror remained, and in it, her reflection was smiling. Rowan ran. The corridor behind her twisted with impossible geometry. Doors stretched and warped like they were breathing, and sconces dimmed one by one as if warning her to hurry. Her breath came in short gasps, the air thick with the scent of rotting wood and something fouler, wet earth turned centuries old. Kenneth was gone. Maybe he was never really there, but the mirror was still etched in her mind, its cracks holding too many faces. Her face changed. She passed room 4, or something that looked like it. Its door was sealed shut, as if it had never been opened at all. Then she saw it, a staircase descending steeply at the end of a hallway she didn't remember passing before. The banister was thick with cobwebs and mildew, but the air that rose from below was cold and whispering. She felt it in her spine. This was where she had to go. Torchlight flickered below, though no torches burned. As she stepped downward, the moan of the inn above faded, replaced by a deep, steady heartbeat. Not hers. Not human. The stone walls narrowed until she had to turn sideways to squeeze through. Roots jutted through the mortar like fingers. She pushed past old barrels, iron hooks in the ceiling, and finally emerged into a wide, circular chamber. The cellar floor was dirt, and in its center stood a rough-hewn altar carved from an ancient tree trunk. Its rings spiraled in unnatural ways, curling inward as though consuming time. She moved closer. Symbols circled the base. Some were Celtic, others older. One glowed faintly when she touched it. Pain shot through her skull. Images, screams, fires, guests clawing at walls, Mr. Talbot watching from the shadows, and beyond it all, a presence, huge, ancient, neither dead nor alive. She staggered back, eyes wet with tears she didn't remember crying, and behind her, footsteps. Mr. Talbot emerged from the shadows, his expression placid. You found it, he said. The hollow's root. It remembers you, Rowan. It remembers everyone. That's its gift. She backed away. What is this place? He tilted his head. A border, as Kenneth told you. but not just between worlds, between choices, between truths. This inn does not trap people, Miss Meredith. It reflects them. He stepped closer. You came here searching for ghosts. But Braeden Hollow only gives you what you bring inside. Her voice cracked. What did I bring? He smiled. Loss, regret, and the need to be forgotten. The altar pulsed, once, like a heartbeat answering his words. In her pocket, her recorder sparked to life. The voice that came through was her own, but older, cracked with terror. I found the door, but I can't close it. Don't trust the mirrors. Don't trust static. Rowan looked at Mr. Talbot. He was no longer fully there. His form flickered like dying candlelight. I was the first guest, he whispered, and I never left. The altar faded as she turned away, swallowed by the shadows like it had never existed. Rowan stumbled back up the corridor, her hand brushing along the damp, moss-slick walls for guidance. She felt different now, like something inside her had shifted out of place. Above her, Braeden Hollow groaned. The corridors no longer obeyed logic. She passed a window looking out onto a burning moor, then a mirror reflecting her bedroom back at her, but in ruins. A child's voice echoed faintly. Where's the door that never opens? She pressed forward until the hall ended in a blank wall. No, not blank. A faint outline shimmered under the wallpaper, as if something had been hidden long ago. Her fingers found the edge of an old seam and peeled it back. Beneath the tattered paper was a wooden door, sealed in place, coated in wax and marked with more of those impossible runes. It wasn't on the ledger. It wasn't on any map, but it had always been there. She touched the handle. It was cold as stone. The door creaked open. The room beyond was impossibly large, too vast to fit inside the structure of the inn. Fog coiled through the air. Walls melted into sky. Dozens of doors floated mid-air, some open, some sealed, some bleeding light or darkness or both. In the center stood a figure. Not Mr. Talbot. It was her. Or a version of her, eyes black, mouth stitched shut with fine thread. The doppelganger tilted its head, then stepped toward her with the jerky movements of a marionette. Rowan recoiled. The walls pulsed. Why are you here? The stitched mouth version asked, but the voice came from inside Rowan's head. Her knees buckled under the pressure of the thought. I want to leave, Rowan whispered. You came to be seen, to be remembered. This place feeds on that. The Hollow loves those who think they are forgotten. The room darkened. One of the floating doors burst open. Screams echoed through it, hers, over and over. Every version of her that had ever stepped into Braeden Hollow and failed to escape. The stitched mouth Rowan reached forward and touched her forehead. Visions crashed through her, memories not lived, choices not made, an entire life rewritten by a single moment. Don't leave the city. Don't take the car. Don't follow the whispering road. Too late. You must choose, the voice said. Stay and become part of the Hollow, or find the one door that leads out and pay the price. The stitched mouth Rowan opened her lips. The threads snapped like wet sinew. Inside was a key. Rowan stared at the key. It gleamed wetly in her palm, as if made from something alive, antler, bone, and black iron woven together into a jagged shape that defied symmetry. It pulsed with warmth, like a heartbeat synced to the Hollow itself. The stitched mouth version of herself had vanished, leaving her alone in the vast, door-filled chamber. Only the echo of her own breath remained. Rowan turned slowly, scanning the impossible architecture. Dozens of doors, all floating, spinning slowly, calling her, but one was still. It hung slightly lower than the others, half open, its edges charred, a faint golden light glowing through the crack. She approached it cautiously, the key vibrating in her hand the closer she came. A voice, her voice, but older, cracked, murmured from behind the door. "You already know the cost." She touched the handle. The moment her skin met the metal, pain lanced through her skull. Her memories began to unravel like string. The smell of lavender on her mother's scarf. The soft exhale of her partner, Jude, asleep beside her back in London. The feel of the first book she held at university, brittle and mysterious. One by one, they flickered. Rowan understood. The hollow demanded a toll, not just memories. Identity. Anchors. The door would take something. If she left through it, she might never remember who she was, or who she loved. She looked down at the key again, and thought of Jude's voice, laughing in a cafe years ago. "I'll come back," she whispered. "Even if I forget, I'll come back." She turned the key. The door screamed open, its hinges shrieking like metal dragged across stone. Light swallowed her. She woke in the heather, gasping. Rain was falling. Her car sat just off the narrow road. The engine was cold. Mist curled through the grass. Rowan sat up slowly. Her clothes were damp. Her camera bag lay beside her, caked in mud. She didn't remember driving here, or why she'd come. The name Braeden Hollow meant nothing, and yet, when she turned on her camera, the screen displayed a single frame, a mirror, her face in it, and behind her, a door sealed with wax. The flat smelled unfamiliar. Rowan stood in the kitchen, staring at a half-drunk cup of tea and a newspaper she didn't remember buying. The radio hummed softly with the voice of a presenter discussing weather along the borders. "Dense fog in the hills again today. If you're heading anywhere near the Moor roads, take care." The words meant nothing, and everything. Her hands trembled. She'd been back for 3 days, or so she'd been told. Jude had greeted her at the hospital. "You went missing. They found you near Jedburgh, completely out of it. You didn't even know your name." She'd nodded, even smiled. But something had been wrong from the start. The dreams were the worst part. Every night, she woke drenched in sweat, heart pounding, visions of a door burned into her eyelids. A door sealed in wax. A key made of bone. Today, she found the mirror, tucked behind boxes in the storage closet. Oval, dust-covered. When she wiped it clean, the surface shimmered faintly, like water over stone. She stared into it for a long time. Her reflection looked back, and something else. A flicker of movement, a shadow, a whisper. "You said you'd come back." She walked the streets of London, uncertain. Everything felt a shade off. Buildings leaned when they shouldn't. Pedestrians glanced at her, only to look again, puzzled. Strangers called her the wrong name. She returned home and locked the mirror in a cabinet. That night, she dreamt of room 4. Rowan made the decision the following morning. She packed her camera, her old notebooks, the leather-bound journal that had somehow followed her back. The wax-sealed door appeared in her dreams again, but this time, it was open. She drove north. The fog met her just past the border. It thickened like a curtain as she turned off the road and followed a trail that didn't appear on any map. A single crow watched from a crooked signpost. Braeden Hollow Inn, established 1692. The inn waited, black, timbered, and eternal. This time, the door opened for her without a sound. Mr. Talbot stood in the foyer, not older, not younger, just exactly as she remembered. "Welcome back, Miss Meredith," he said. She stepped inside. "I remember now." He bowed slightly. "Then you understand. The Hollow doesn't trap. It offers, and it waits." Behind her, the door closed. In the library, the guest book lay open. A hand, unseen, wrote with delicate ink. Rowan Meredith, checked out, briefly. Returned, willing. Status home. Somewhere deep within the walls, the mirrors sighed with satisfaction, and room 4's fire crackled anew.